So Marvel Rivals, this is crazy. 322,000 people playing the fucking game.
Marvel Rivals is a reckoning. 20 million players in under 2 weeks. That is insane. What is going on?
Yeah,
it's light.
In case people don't know, they announced on Twitter that they've already had over 20 million people that have signed up to play the game. That is a crazy number. Wow.
Fun, it's flashy, it has some of the best character designs I have ever seen in any Marvel property, period.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it has a battle pass that doesn't expire. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this lesson.
I wish that gamers could get together and just decide that expiring battle passes, they're not going to happen anymore. I don't know why we can't just move past that.
You are teaching to the industry because they need to learn
So annoying.
And that's exactly what this game is doing right now, because this entire year we have heard the same line of garbage towed across the entire industry as to why live service games have been failing. It's not the character designs. The people who are talking about that are toxic. It's not that we don't understand what the players want. It's that there's too much competition in the industry right now. It's not the gameplay. It's because people just aren't, interested in hero shooters anymore.
Yeah, it can't possibly be because of the fact that all the characters looked weird on Concord. No, that had nothing to do with it. No, there's no way.
Really? Is that what it looks like to you?
Yeah.
All of this back and forth while feigning ignorance. And we've had some incredible games this year. We've had some incredibly popular games this year. But we haven't had that game that stood as definitive proof as to what the players have been asking for a long time. We haven't had that, 20 million players in under 2 weeks kind of proof. And that's exactly what
we
Marvel
did with Black Myth Wukong. I feel like we've had a number of cases with that. And it's happened over and over, I feel. There's been so many points on the graph.
And that's the main reason why people are playing it. It came out of left field for me. I'm actually a bit shocked to see. Actually, I'm not that shocked to see how popular the game is, because after playing it, you can see why everybody's playing it right now. But
it's a good game.
I think that this game stands as a lesson for the rest of the industry. And I think in a lot of ways, the people that were talking about live service games this year and why they were failing, they might need to go into hiding after this one. So you could use today's sponsor, Delete Me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something.
No, that's true. Yeah, they're trying to figure out one rationalization or another. Oh, no, it wasn't because it's free. It's because that's the reason.
Really important.
Doing whatever
your
they
personal
can.
privacy. If you've ever Googled yourself like I have, you know how much of your personal data is out there. Phone numbers, home addresses, even information about
Master
your family.
Chief's real face.
As you can imagine, being a content creator, I value my privacy just as much as the next guy, and that's where Delete Me comes in, a service I personally use and trust to keep my information off the web. Delete Me removes your data from hundreds of data broker websites, those companies that are out there collecting and selling your personal information without your permission. Whether you've worried about things like identity theft, doxing, or protecting your privacy, Delete Me has your back. When I first signed up, I got my privacy report within a week.
It's crazy that we have these companies that do this instead of having privacy laws. It's actually crazy. What a stupid fucking meta. What a dumb fucking
just
meta.
How much of my personal information they found and removed for me. Plus, they keep monitoring and removing my data all year long.
They need to patch this out.
Here's the best part. You can try it out yourself. Go to joindeleteme.com/drops and use the code DROPS for 20% off. It's the easy way to take control of your personal information and protect your privacy online. Thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get to it. In a year in which we've seen many live service games fail, and a few of them even shut down within the same year that they were released, one now stands as the crowned king of 2024. The list of excuses has grown incredibly long. The players are sick of being ignored, and in many ways, for those players who have been mistreated by other games, studios, and publishers, and subsequently lost interest and hope in those games.
What a fucking retarded piece of shit that guy was. He could have sat there and healed. He didn't even do that. Man, what a fucking moron. Got killed by a baby shark.
Marvel Rivals stands as their new refuge. Right at the end of the year, in the same week as the release of Path of Exile 2's early access, the game climbed to 480,000 concurrent players on Steam, while pulling similar numbers across PlayStation and Xbox. The developer announced in just under 3 days that the game had reached 10 million players. Just over a week later, they would update that number to 20 million players. Regardless of it being...
God damn! 20 million people.
Free to play or having the Marvel IP, while those are definitely
They
factors
Power World
here,
Overwatch.
we've seen plenty of games, especially live
Yeah,
service
bro, this is the Power World for Overwatch. That's a really good point.
games, fail to garner any level of success. However, Marvel Rivals seems to have something that everyone else is missing. Now, I've been busy with other content and other games. However, whenever I get the chance to, I've been logging in and playing with friends. This game feels incredible to play, and that's something to take note of. That is incredibly important here, especially in this genre.
This is one of the really important things that a lot of people forget about, but one of the reasons why this game is popular is because it plays well. I think that some melee characters, when they get up close to you, like Iron Fist and Spider-Man, I think there are some desyncing issues. But other than that, this game plays extremely fucking well.
The controls feel fantastic. Every character feels entirely distinct from the other. We aren't beating the accusations here, as the great and wise Mike Ybarra so brazenly pointed out on Twitter and then later was shamed into deleting the comment. Marvel Rivals is essentially Overwatch. But there is a lot more here than just a fresh coat of paint. Marvel Rivals is the
reason why this game is more popular than Overwatch, the main reason is because it's not Overwatch. People are tired of Overwatch, and Overwatch has no hope. There's never going to be a point where people are excited about it. Third person too. Yeah, third person makes it more approachable. I think that's another reason why Fortnite's really popular too, compared to other BRs.
Live service competitive multiplayer game developed by NetEase, offering players the opportunity to fight in an Overwatch-style game using iconic Marvel superheroes and villains. This game is the quintessential hero shooter, offering a roster of beloved characters, including the likes of Spider-Man, Magneto, Storm, Iron Man, Captain America, and more.
Well, one thing that also is, like, I don't know if it's really talked about in this video, is that this game does a very good job of giving players the superhero fantasy. Like, for example, Spider-Man plays exactly like I would expect Spider-Man to play. The Punisher plays exactly the way that I would expect. The only thing I would want with the Punisher is that I think he should do more damage when his health gets lower. I think that would be cool. But, like, other than that, and Iron Fist does, yeah, Iron Fist plays exactly the way you'd expect him to. Let me think of another example. Magneto plays exactly the way that I'd want him to. Doctor Strange, fucking perfect. And so you take these archetypes that everybody knows. Star-Lord, yeah, exactly. Hulk, yeah, plays exactly the way you want him to. Groot, yeah, exactly the way you want him to. That's the really cool thing about it.
Really sets Marvel Rivals apart from many of the other live service games is its commitment to staying true to that Marvel brand. Offering a staggering 33 heroes at launch, all with abilities and skills that genuinely suit that character. Combined with arguably some of the best character designs in all of Marvel. I think that's where Suicide...
It's also that, like, Squirrel Girl is hot. I mean, like, this is how you can draw, like, a character that's, like, not super skinny, but still make her attractive. Nobody wants to look at a hog, but they'll look at Squirrel Girl. It's the difference between being thick and being fat.
Squad Kills the Justice League really went wrong. They didn't stay on brand. They forced the characters and the setting into a looter-shooter mold for profit purposes.
Like, the character models are appealing. Like, this is a cool character model. That's something that really matters a lot. It's like you don't see people dressing up as, like, some of these other new characters, right? Even, like, the new Overwatch characters, I don't see a lot of people dressing up as them. Like, there's that one character that would go underground. I've never seen a cosplay for that in my life.
Really used any of their trademark abilities. Everyone used generic weapons and guns to fuel that looter-shooter formula. In Marvel Rivals, you are playing as those heroes, fulfilling roles that they are best suited for and using abilities that make sense for that character. What's really interesting with Marvel Rivals, and this is pretty much across the board, is there is a much higher skill ceiling due to the depth of mechanics between each characters and how they synergize together. Characters in the game have unique team-up abilities, passive bonuses, and activated abilities that can only be unlocked when you're actually pairing them with specific allies. For example, if you use Adam Warlock with Mantis or Star-Lord...
And this is a smart decision for them to have done, because these are tuning knobs that don't actually affect individual character design, that they can change from season to season. And they even say that, for example, with Hela, they say that she only does 20% more damage if she has like Loki or Thor on the team for this season. And so it's like different seasonal balancing that doesn't affect the overall game in the long term.
Well, he'll grant both of them a free revive upon death. This is something that I think really adds a little bit of extra flavor that this genre has been missing. That depth and flexibility doesn't just end with team-ups. You see it across the individual skills of the heroes themselves. In Overwatch, as an example, Lucio can pump it up, boost speed and healing, and he can knock enemies back, and honestly, that's about it. His closest comparison in Marvel Rivals, Luna Snow, can use precision to heal her allies, deal damage. She can give out shields. She can deal bonus damage with ice shards and slow enemies down. She can empower her abilities to pierce through enemies and allies, and she has an ultimate that can either heal or increase damage. There's a lot more in the way of skill expression and role flexibility across the entire game.
Yeah, now, I do think that Marvel Rivals is actually pretty complex. It's actually one of the main things that makes me worried about the game, is that I worry that as soon as the game gets more defined, that a meta will be discovered, and then everybody will be, it'll be kind of like Fortnite, right? Where Fortnite it was just so hard to get into after like maybe the 5th season because of how high the skill cap in the game is. There already is there's a meta, there's a day one meta, right? But what I'm saying is that the meta now will not be what the meta is in 6 months, for example. And like once you have that skill gap that gets high enough, people lose interest in starting to play the game.
That means in gameplay is that while Marvel Rivals is a bit less accessible than Overwatch is, it has a higher barrier to entry for competitive play due to the depth of the character roster and their abilities.
I think that actually Marvel Rivals is easier to get into than Overwatch. I think that it being third person makes it more accessible. And I also think that the way that the tank and the healer meta works, it's easier to kill people, I feel like, in Marvel Rivals, which makes it easier for newer players to get into the game. That's my opinion.
But a meta is much harder to pin down in a game like this. There is a lot more in the way of individual skill expression between each character, and by extension, every match feels much more fresh because not every player plays the same hero the same way. I spent most of my time playing as Psylocke. I love this character. I love her in the Marvel Universe. I absolutely love her design in this game, and she's incredibly fun in Marvel Rivals. I think that in many ways, this game's biggest strength isn't about how characters fulfill their roles. It's about how the game provides this layer of player agency that I otherwise don't feel like I get in other games.
What's the class fantasy?
I'm not a frontliner. I don't really like being in the mix. I like sneaking around, peppering enemies with a bit of damage from the sidelines to support other characters. I ignore the objectives and catch players who freshly respawn that are trying to get back to their team, and then I'll drop in out of nowhere with an ultimate to take out a bunch of enemies and disrupt the point, and then fade back into the shadows. I want everyone to forget that I'm even there until it's too late. Marvel Rivals has the vision to allow players to be able to play their own.
And I think that's another thing that gets removed from a game as time goes on, because the game increasingly caters to that top 0.1% of meta farmers and like meta followers. And like what happens is that like over time, the game becomes more and more over balanced. And then it becomes so balanced that it's no longer fun. Because usually a game is really, really fun at the beginning, and then things get nerfed and rebalanced enough times to where, like, that sense of, oh, I'm getting away with this when I'm playing a character in a certain way is removed.
Rather than the one that the game assigns to them. The minute that this game came out, I started getting Discord notifications.
Helldivers too.
Friends, have you heard about the game? Are you going to play the game? Do you know anybody else that's playing the game? And that is incredibly special for a game like this, because that's exactly what the developer wants, and that's exactly what a community wants for this kind of game, because you want more people that are playing it. You want people to go out and try to find more people to play the game with. Yeah. And it just goes to show just how popular this game has become in such a short amount of time, and I think it's going to continue to grow in popularity because it is a really fun game, and a lot of people are really liking it right now. And in a lot of ways, it reminds me of the launch of the original Overwatch. And not just because of all the images people have been sharing online. What is up with people's obsession with wanting to put a big, I'm just not even going to touch that one. It feels like you're eating popcorn.
You know what the reason is.
Just one more. And the next thing you know, hours have gone by. You've been swapping between these different matches where it's chaotic and people are still trying to learn how to play the game. Everybody's kind of out for themselves. And then you drop into a match that almost feels surgical, where everybody understands their role. They know what they need to do. They understand the maps, and it just feels great to play.
I've never had that happen.
If there was one thing that I had to point out and say, like, this is Marvel Rivals' biggest strength, and it's even bigger than the Marvel IP itself, and it's just that the game feels really good to play. And that's something that I think
that's the most important thing. I think it's a consolidation of the fact that it's free, so there's no barrier to entry. You're talking about characters that people have a general cultural understanding of, and everybody knows who the Hulk is, for example. And then you also have the fact that the game plays well. Like, you put those three things together, one of the most popular IPs in the entire culture, free, and it's good. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people playing it. There it is.
Studios have gotten wrong over the last couple of years.
Right after Concord failing.
Registration problems. There's no netcode issues. There's no disconnects. I haven't had any problems with FPS or anything like that. The menus are really easy to navigate. The UI is super clean. I don't have any problem with being able to tell allies from enemies in the game. I can't tell you how many times I ran into games like that. And yeah, it just feels really good to play. The animations are solid.
That's one thing for me with Overwatch. Overwatch for me was visually overwhelming. Like, especially with all, like, the color effects that would be on the sides of the screen. It would just be, like, it's too much, man. It was just too fucking much. Really? Yeah, it was. And it was overwhelming. I didn't want to deal with that. It's too overstimulating? Yeah, it is. It's way too much.
The controls feel really good. The character abilities make sense.
Yeah, I had problems with that a lot.
But nothing ever really, obfuscates your vision while you're playing the game, which is really important in a game like this. And that's something that they get right. And I think that goes a really long way with something like this. And one of the other things that I like as well is that they're not going to paywall characters behind battle passes or microtransactions. They're just keeping it cosmetic.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I mean, especially because it was made by NetEase, so it's like, okay, so how much is how much do I have to pay to play Iron Man?
For you to be able to do it with a game like this. And something that I really like is that you actually have to go looking for the monetization. It's not just in your face. And I'm going to trigger some people when I bring this up.
That's a really good point. I don't even know where the store is. I don't even know what the skins. I have no idea. Like, I don't play games for that. I don't give a fuck.
But you know those games that like to hit you with like 4 or 5 different notifications or menus of like different things that they're trying to sell you before you can even get in to play the game in the first place? Marvel Rivals does not have that. Open the game.
To be fair.
Press play.
I think they will.
You're in a match. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And by the way, incredibly quick match times. I mean, you hit it and it's just like match found. There's no delay or anything like that. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, that's especially good.
And in a lot of ways, when I'm looking at this game, I think that I look at the industry and I see how they've been covering it, talking about its success and the reviews and things like that. And they're really downplaying it. They're oversimplifying it. Well, it's the Marvel IP. Well, it's a free-to-play game. That's the reason why this game is doing
The reason why is because the media for gaming is full of a bunch of fucking morons. That's the reason why. And I'll tell you this. Every single one of those people that writes articles, they wish they could be in his position. They wish they could be in my position. Because you get paid 10 times as much, and you can be your own boss. And there's a reason why they're not. That's it. They got connections. So do anybody here. Yeah, anybody gets connections. Yeah, that's it. Factual info. Yeah, and I like. It sounds like mean to say, but these are people who cannot exist in a free market.
So well, and they're really underselling it because I think the truth is a lot more nuanced than that.
Yeah,
Marvel Rivals doesn't just replicate what others have done right; it also does better what others did wrong. And in that, what they're doing is they're picking up all the players that have been left behind. A really popular discussion that I've seen recently is both games executives and games media that have been writing this line of games being ripoffs of successful games. And
well, it's also like games being so over-designed and so fixated on competitive complexity. Like the competitive and esports, I think, has done irreparable damage to like video games as a whole. So fucking much. Oh my god. Like, every game has to be an esport. Everything has to be competitive. The competitive scene. Please, if you are making a video game, nobody cares about the competitive scene. Nobody gives a shit. If it doesn't matter, like Elden Ring has a competitive scene because it's a popular game. You will have a competitive scene if you have a popular game. You will not have a popular game if you have a competitive scene. One of them does absolutely precipitate the other. Does? Yeah. Esports keeps the game alive. Esports does not keep the game alive. Esports kills the game.
It's the major factor as to why those games have been able to find any success, which, yeah, duh. But at the exact same time, there's more to it than that, and that undermines the success of that game. We saw the same thing with Palworld on its release. Its design and gameplay elements were definitely emulating Pokemon.
It's no copied completely. It's not even a question.
Out about that, but a mere copy doesn't find 25 million players the way that Palworld did.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does, because it's just a better version, right? You can copy something that somebody else does and then do it better than them, 10%. You can do 90% of the same thing, change 10%, and you beat the shit out of them. That's it. Is that League or CSGO? CSGO and League were massively popular games before they had any competitive scene. The reason why League had a competitive scene, I think it kind of was born out of the popularity of the game. And it was so popular, League existed, right? League was changed from like a, it was a Warcraft 3 mod originally. So yeah, no, I don't think that's the case at all. And I feel like esports also, like, an esport, like, you know how like in Final Fantasy there's like primals? And like the primals are only as powerful as the people who believe in them make them are? Right? So like that's how like it doesn't matter, right? But that's the point. And so like in like Final Fantasy 14 with like what was the guy's name? Fucking Archmage Louisoix, right? The Phoenix thing. And so without spoiling too much of it, that's kind of like the idea. Well, esports are kind of the same thing. The reason why Faker is the biggest is the biggest and most famous gamer in the world is because League is one of the biggest and most famous games in the world. That's the reason why. And he is held in that high regard by millions and millions of people for that reason. CS copied Real World. Yeah, exactly, right? And one of the biggest. Yeah, he is. And he's good. Yeah, he's really fucking good. But here's what I'm telling you, is that there are people who are also really fucking good at other games, but nobody cares about it because nobody cares about the game. And the esports is like that primal. If you don't have that that underarching like player base to support it, it simply does not matter. Yeah, look at StarCraft 2 players. Like the guys now that are playing Brood War, these are people who, like, I mean, these are electronic wizards here. But nobody really seems to give a shit because the game's not as popular as it used to be.
Or now 20 million players for Marvel Rivals and its inspiration that's taken from Overwatch. Yeah. Now, I will say I find it incredibly rich to see that Mike Ybarra, ex-Blizzard president turned sports betting CEO.
He's a retard.
There's a career change that makes a lot of sense. It tells you a lot about the industry today, now doesn't it? However, he went to Twitter to say, looks like Overwatch Marvel Rivals ships tomorrow, much like Light of Motrium, a clear copy of Horizon Zero Dawn out of China.
Which, by the way, looks better than Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm much more excited for it. Blizzard was the master. Like, what's so funny to me about this is that Overwatch copied a lot of things from TF2. Like, TF2 was Overwatch 1. Like, what are we talking about? Like, World of Warcraft was copied a lot from EverQuest. All of these games were copied. Like, what are we talking? It's such a weird thing to say.
I mean, even the character name, Widowmaker in Overwatch versus Black Widow in Marvel Rivals, LOL, NetEase, Tencent, all the same.
What's really funny to me about that is the fact that Widowmaker was probably built off of Black Widow. Like, that's the funniest thing to me about it, is like the conceptualization of the character. Like, yeah, like a Black Widow spider, something like that, like dangerous female. Yeah, sure. But also, You know, let's be honest.
Ironic coming from somebody that used to work for Blizzard, a company that outside of a few hits has built its entire empire off of copying successful games, modernizing them, and then
Well, the hits
re-releasing
were the copying of the successful games. The ones that weren't hits were whenever they tried to think for themselves. Like that survival game that they didn't even announce.
them to even more success. I mean,
Yeah.
Overwatch isn't even original. Most of its core mechanics and premise were directly taken from Team Fortress 2, but I've seen a lot of people comment on this tweet. However, the one thing that I see that apparently nobody else does is fear and coping. If Palworld ever beats the sales of a Pokemon release...
I'm sorry, but this Light of Moitrim game looks infinitely more appealing to me than Horizon Zero Dawn ever did. It did, because like they say, hey, you like Elden Ring? Hey, you like Monster Hunter? Hey, you like robots and shit, like a mech? Yeah? Guess what? Guess what we got for you? That's it. That's all I need. Says anyone that didn't play it. I mean, I don't give, like, if I see a game and it looks like a piece of shit, I'm not going to play the game because, fuck, it's a piece of shit. Why the hate for Horizon Zero Dawn? It's not really hate. It's that I don't find the game appealing. But this game seemed appealing to me. It's my personal opinion.
Marvel Rivals buries Overwatch. If Light of Motrium outsells Horizon, what does that say about the empires that you've built and the games that you've made?
Horizon
if somebody
sucks.
can simply walk up, take what you've done, make it more fun, more edgy, more sexy, or whatever, and then immediately find success, aren't you the one that's failing to meet your customers' needs? Overwatch was
by the way, if you watch that boss fight, every single mechanic that boss does is from the Fallen Star Beast in Elden Ring. Every single one. They didn't even try. They're not like, oh, well, let's try to make this a little bit different. No, they didn't even do anything. And you know what? Other people complain. I think, wow. So you're telling me I have 2 Elden Rings? Ho, ho, ho! Twice as much fun. If it works, why fix it? Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I don't care about this. Doesn't matter to me at all. Why reinvent the wheel? Yeah, I guess so.
When it first released, and it held that popularity for a long time. However, Blizzard, over the years, squandered all of the goodwill that they had created with that game. They killed their competitive scene by getting rid of the Overwatch League. They erased the original game when making Overwatch 2, effectively.
Well, they didn't kill the competitive scene. It's alive now in like Saudi Arabia. You know who Tracer's in a relationship with in Saudi Arabia, I bet? Soldier 76.
Physical copies just because they wanted to push people into a new microtransaction ecosystem. For many, that was the breaking point. The players that remained behind did so because they actually believed in the promises that Blizzard had made for Overwatch 2. The PvE mode, the added depth, the value that was supposed to come with all of these great sacrifices that they forced upon the player. But
I really think that Blizzard's handling of Overwatch 2 is probably the most impressive fumble that I've ever seen in gaming. You not only killed your game, but you killed the hope of your game ever being good. That is something like, who does that? That's incredible. Super fucking impressive.
In the end, all of that was taken away. All the future plans and promises were canceled. What they were left with was a stagnant live service game that was no better than the original version, that barely even changed, and had only taken their money and their hope. There's no loyalty there anymore. So when we see a new game like Marvel Rivals step out onto the scene, it has a ton of recognizable characters, more depth, and a clear vision of the future. Well, it's easy to see why players would go to play that game.
They need to go and they need to add a character like Reinhardt into Marvel Rivals. That's what they need to do. I want a tank character that plays like Reinhardt. Doctor Strange? No. Like, they need to bring in, bro, the motherfucking Juggernaut. Imagine, bro. His ult is he charges and he busts down every fucking, like, he can go right through walls and everything. And he could they have him say, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and just fucking run through everything? That would be, people would quit the game. No, they wouldn't, man. It would be fucking amazing. Do you
Blizzard
think they'll
is
add
practically
Thanos?
forcing them to at this point. That's why I always thought it was odd when I would see how often games media would talk about why Sony's Concord failed, claiming that it had to do with the fact that the hero shooter genre just wasn't in style anymore. It had nothing to do with that. In fact, I would like to believe that there's probably a growing hunger out there for something to replace Overwatch because there are so few.
Well, there obviously is. That's why this game is extremely popular, and that's why Overwatch is still somehow popular.
Experiences like that in the market right now. There are so few low commitment, fun games that have great multiplayer experiences with low bars of entry and high...
Low commitment is a really good point that he's bringing up. A lot of people don't want to have to play a game 6 hours a day to keep up with the meta and keep their skill level up to where they can play and enjoy the game. And I think that making games like sweat-proof is probably the biggest challenge that developers have nowadays.
Ceilings for competitive play. That's why Overwatch succeeded for so long. It stayed true the entire time. Marvel Rivals is finding success because that need is still there in the market. Concord didn't fail because of the genre. It failed because it lacked the one thing that Marvel Rivals has in abundance.
Hot characters. Yeah.
In an interview with Eurogamer, Thaddeus Sasser...
Yeah, you're not seeing any OnlyFans girls dressing up like the Concord characters, but I've seen a lot of Squirrel Girl cosplays already. I've seen a lot of them. Why is that? What a secret. Who could possibly know?
Of Marvel Rivals said that Concord didn't bring any unique value, and that's the reason why it failed.
Now, I don't think that any of the characters are even as remotely fuckable as Widowmaker or Mercy from Overwatch. Not even Squirrel Girl. And in my opinion, it's not even close. That's just what I think, right? So they've got to keep going. When stop it.
That the truth is, I don't think anybody can predict this, or the games industry would be radically different today. There are a lot of games that come out that people are like, it's going to do well, and it flops.
Yeah.
Or people are like, it's going to flop.
I don't think anybody can accurately predict this, or the game industry would be radically different today. It's crazy that they can't radically predict it. I bet they can. That's bullshit.
Succeeds amazingly. I think it's really hard to tell ahead of time,
bullshit.
and you're always worried about that. The trick is you have to have that reason that people want to come play your game. I think that Marvel Rivals does that exactly with superheroes. I don't know about you, but when I heard about the game's concept, I was like, oh my god, I want to go be Storm in the game. I want to go be Doctor Strange in the game. I want to be those heroes in the game. That sounds awesome.
Exactly.
And of course, my mind immediately leapt to all of the cool possibilities that you could have with that. And that's what I think will pull people in. And I think he's right. Heck, I don't even remember any of the names of the characters from Concord, and I don't think anybody will.
Well, there's the fat one, and there's the robot, and then there was the big guy that was red, who looked like a gorilla, and then there was the guy that was green. And then, there was the girl that looked like Thugnificent. That was it.
Concord really didn't do anything. It had these characters that weren't all that well designed. People didn't really want to play as them or even get to know them. And the developers just assumed that we would want to get to know them. We know that because they had this whole plan and business strategy around delivering seasonal movies for their cast of characters. You either have to hook players with something that they know, or you have to tantalize them with something that is so cool that they need to know more about it. Concord did neither of those things while also looking not really all that entertaining to play. You know, another justification that I'm seeing right now as well is that the reason why Marvel Rivals is doing so well is because it's free to play. And then they make the comparison and say, well, you know, the reason why Concord failed was because it was $40. It would have done better if it was free to play. I don't think that that's as big of an impact as many in games media or even the industry thinks it is. From my perspective, when you make it...
People will be able to cobble together $40 if they're going to plan on wasting 200 hours on a video game. That's what's going to happen. It will happen. And it's just a cope. Like, think about how many people played Pow World or how many people played Black Myth Wukong. Well, both of these games were not just free. Look at PoE 2. Helldivers 2. It's a cope. It's the same reason why, like, Suicide Squad went from being, like, $70 to being $3. And it went from having 200 players to having 2,000 players. It's just not... Like, yeah, making your game free will make more people able to play the game. For sure. 100%. 100. However, it's not like, oh, well, I just make the game free, then everybody's going to play it.
A game free to play, you're essentially just removing the ceiling on what kind of success a game can have, because you can basically reach any audience anywhere at any economic status. But at the end of the day, if a game is good enough or interesting enough, or it's a game that players just genuinely want to play,
they'll play
they
it.
will buy that game.
Yes, they will.
Call of Duty still sells gangbusters. Overwatch wasn't free to play when it first came out, and it still did really well.
That's another great example. He's so right about that. Overwatch was not free to play. It was like $60 or $40, and everybody played that fucking game.
Made popular for a really long time. I just don't think it's as
My
big of a
dumbass
factor
bought
as
it.
people make it out to be.
$40,
People will
man.
buy
That's
the
cheap,
games. We've
too.
seen that all year round. The most successful games this year were games that were sold, not necessarily games that were free to play.
Oh, a lot of them,
Look at Black Myth Wukong.
Astrobot.
Look at Baldur's Gate 3 last year. Look at Elden Ring. Look at Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. There are tons of examples of games that sold just
Final
fine
Fantasy.
and really weren't limited by the fact that people had to pay for them. You know, it's actually crazy is that I can't remember exactly what video this is from. I'd almost guarantee it's from a wake-up call. But I talked about how none of these live service games, none of these publishers are out there creating any goodwill with their audience. All they're doing is creating
it's also the people that work at, like, I actually think that a lot of things can be solved very simply. I think in a lot of cases, this might sound like a fucking, like, low IQ take, but I think it's actually a high IQ take. Most problems are actually the simplest answer. It's like, why did Black Myth Wukong not win Game of the Year? Because it's rigged. That's why. Why do a lot of things happen? Occam's Razor. Yeah, that's the reason. And why are they not able to make good games? Because they're shitty. They don't know what the hell they're doing. It's not some grand fucking conspiracy about, like, oh, I wonder why. No, they're just fucking stupid. They're stupid. They don't know what the hell they're doing. The PlayStation Awards were good? Yeah, for sure.
Scenario in which players are ready to be taken away from them at any given moment, because all they do is take. They just take. It's always a net negative for the players and a net positive for them because they keep making money. And because of that, you're not building any loyalty.
This actually goes into what Mark Merrill was saying the other day with Arcane, about how Arcane wasn't something. It's like, if you look at the Arcane balance sheet and it says negative and you think that it's a failure, you really didn't see the whole picture. I think this is a great example of it.
And that's why I think a game like this is succeeding, is because in a lot of cases, it's just players that have been burned by other games that have been waiting for something else, and this is the shiny new toy, and it looks really fun and cool, and it's recognizable, and that's why players are going to play it.
Yeah, of course.
And what's crazy is that any company could build loyalty. They could actually hold on to their player base. I think
it's provable. Well, I mean, he's going to say No Man's Sky or PoE.
Example of this is Path of Exile and Warframe.
Yeah, of course, right? And so, like, yeah, that's the truth. Of course that's going to happen. It's common sense. So many people return to League because of Arcane. Yeah, sure. And I think this is what's going to happen, is that if you build up that brand loyalty, that matters when you think it's like, it's the fucking thing that Galadriel gave Frodo. You know, it's like the light that he used against Shelob. You never, like, you totally forgot about this, but in your darkest moment, you have it, and it helps you. I'm serious. Like, that's the kind of shit that really makes a difference. The Fallout show, so many motherfuckers were going out and buying the old Fallouts. Exactly.
Years of customer satisfaction, and those players are stuck to those games. They're not going anywhere. Every single time they do an update, bam, Player numbers shoot up.
Big numbers.
Path of Exile just released Path of Exile 2. Game blows up. Over 500,000 players on Steam. Who knows how many players across other platforms.
That's an ass load of people.
Blizzard could have done that, but they didn't. They instead wanted to milk their players for all they're worth. And while I don't think we're going to see...
I don't think that they can. I think that the truth is they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't. They can't do it. That you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. They just not gonna because again, if you listen to someone like Kevin Jordan or Jeff Kaplan or Jonathan Majors from PoE, and you listen to them talk about the game, and then you listen to what a Ubisoft person or a Blizzard person says, there's a difference. And that difference is profound. And that's the truth. The reason why they keep failing is because they're not good at what they're doing. It's actually that simple. Wow, what a surprise. It's not some fucking weird conspiracy. It's not because of an IP. It's because you suck. Like, that's the reason why. Like, if you keep failing, at a certain point, when is it your fault?
You know, a massive impact in the player base of Overwatch immediately, we probably will see it over time. Because keep in mind, those players are invested over there. They have skins, they've been playing the game, they understand the game, they know the meta, you know, the people that are in the competitive scene, you know, they're invested for other reasons as well. So you're not going to see a lot of those people move immediately, but I do think you're going to see it slowly happen over time because one game has a bright future and the other game is just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not, I mean, you know.
I think that Marvel Rivals director is absolutely right when he's talking about creating something to entice players to come over to your games.
Yeah.
And for him, he's using the example of the characters, which he's absolutely right in that. I think that, you know, having the
Go
IP
to Marvel Rivals. Play Marvel Rivals. It's where the hoes are at. That's what matters. People care about that a lot. Everybody acts like it doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why are people acting like it matters? Why are people jerking off to the characters? It's because it matters. There's more Overwatch porn than there is probably people playing Overwatch. I do think that the Overwatch porn is now more popular than the game. Oh, she's from a game?
It is huge. It's very recognizable. People want to go play as the Marvel characters. I have my favorite. Most people have their favorite characters. It's fun to play them as those characters. And it's also fun to fill that, player fantasy or that power fantasy of playing as that character and using their powers against other heroes and stuff like that. But one thing that I think that Marvel Rivals has proved that the industry is not going to be very happy with, and it's that players do care about how their characters look. Something that I've taken a while to figure out how to properly voice.
Nobody wants to be a fat bitch. Especially not fat bitches. That's why they Photoshop their pictures. That's just the way it is.
Is that games across the board need to do a better job at inviting players in to actually play their games. And making your game beautiful and attractive is the best way to do this. Now, I mean this figuratively and literally.
And you look like Frank Castle's arms are the size of a fucking pillar in ancient Greece. But somehow having a character with D-cup breasts is unrealistic. Get the fuck out of here.
Dark Souls or Elden Ring don't need hot characters to bring you in. It hooks you with the setting, the vistas, the brutality. Path of Exile 2 entices you with the grotesque nature of its world. However, games that the player character is the main focus, narrative-driven RPGs, or in this case, the hero shooter genre, it is incredibly important to make sure that those characters are going to attract the player in to actually want to play as those characters, to learn about them, to be them.
is like, you want to play a role-playing game, priority number one is to have a role that people want to be. Duh. Like, people don't want to play a role of someone that is weird looking and ugly. If they want to do that, they just be in real life. What are we doing?
Ultimately buy cosmetics for them.
Yeah.
Marvel Rivals understands this and executes on it with style. Before this game was even released, I cannot tell you guys how many times I saw images of Squirrel Girl floating around Twitter, Reddit, and Discord conversations.
Yeah.
Hell, the first time that I was even introduced to this game was because of a tweet that I had seen where apparently one of the models that had posed for one of the characters and their CGI had been leaked. And the body model for Psylocke proudly let everybody know that that was her ass in the video game.
Oh my
Rivals
God.
has some of the slickest designs that I have seen in this year so far.
Wow.
They do an insane job of blending comic designs
Nice.
and anime designs in a way that doesn't take away from the original art of the characters. They still remain just as iconic, but they're updated for
And
more
this is like, for me, like, I grew up in the the X-Men. I think Halle Berry was Storm. If I think of the, like, what is Storm? Yeah, that's it right there. 100%.
modern sensibilities and tastes. You want to play as these characters, and the game invites you to do that because of how great they look. When you actually play the game, it's even better. You're bouncing between these menus and flashing yellow lightning characters popping out of the selection screens. They have these awesome intro animations, and in-game, the art style flows between this hand-drawn cartoon and cel-shaded thing that feels like it's straight out of the Spider-Verse movies, which were really incredibly popular and visually beautiful. When I go back and I look at games like
Straight out of being involuntarily committed to the mental institution. Who the fuck wants to be this? We got a Fent? Yeah, somebody said we got a Fent zombie. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Stacy from the trailer. Who the fuck wants to be? If I want to see this, I just go to Walmart.
like Concord or Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, it's clear that character designs play a huge role in drawing players in. Yet, these games miss the mark. In Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, for example, they gave their rendition of Miss Freeze. And
what the hell? Who the fuck? We gotta... What the fuck? What is this? Why would you do this? What is this? This is embarrassing, bro. Like, it's so retarded, Riddick. It is. It's retarded, Riddick. It's so bad.
They gave their rendition of Miss Freeze, and that felt completely detached from the character that we know and love. When you look across all of the characters and Rivals, every single design jumps out of the screen, showing you something fresh, interesting, and recognizable. And I think the same thing can be said for Concord, where the characters just felt completely forgettable. They didn't inspire...
It's just so awful. It's so incredibly bad.
Curiosity, the designs felt so generic that there really wasn't even a reason for you to care. There was nothing about the game that screamed come and play, nothing to make you want to learn about their backstory or even experience the gameplay. And I think it's really important to take notice that Marvel Rivals has completely avoided this broader trend that we've seen across the industry, this heavy lean into socially progressive design choices that, I'll be honest, I just don't find them aesthetically pleasing.
Keep in mind, socially progressive means ugly and fat. That's all it means. That's it.
Nothing to do with personal beliefs or ideologies. I just don't think they look interesting.
It's disgusting
or cool,
and ugly.
Oftentimes they feel forced and uninspired. Characters that are introduced with seemingly little depth, lacking substance, and designs that are so clinical and uninspired that they fail to generate any excitement or interest.
Yep.
Instead, they're just turning players away. I've seen a lot of people ask the question, why do you even care? If you don't like the way that it looks, just don't play it. And that...
Wish granted. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly it. Ugly cute can work. Never go full ugly. It's just is what I said before about that fat acceptance movement. The entire movement is all about fat chicks trying to gaslight men into thinking that they're attractive. That's it. We talking about video game? Yeah, I know. But like, so you think about it like this. You want to be a hog in a game? You trying to be a hog in a game? Fuck no, I'm not going to be a hog in a game. Absolutely not. Like, it's not even a question. May from Overwatch? Yeah, but she wasn't fat. She was chubby. And then people, like, she always, in a lot of the fan art, she always has the biggest titties. Right? Like, let's be real.
That's the thing. People are not playing these games. They are failing by either
the
creative
biggest
choices or choices that are rooted in their own worldview. I want games to succeed. I want games to do well. I don't want developers to lose their jobs or studios to go out of business. I want more games to play, and the only way for that to happen is for more studios and publishers to face reality.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 and Larian Studios' director of publishing, Michael Dow, stated this perfectly. He said 2025 and beyond is going to be an extremely tough time
he's
to
so
ship
right
a
about
game,
this.
with division spilling into everything. I have one practical piece of advice that, to some, seem controversial, but it's crucial. Anticipate, don't ignore, or ridicule, or stoke. Figure it out, navigate the waters, even if you think they're unfair. Or that the sea should...
See, this is the problem that a lot of people have, is that they can't disconnect themselves from their own viewpoints and they can't look at things objectively. They're so emotionally tied up in the virtue of what their actions are, they can never look at what the effect of their actions are and the way that other people view them. That's it. They got to own the chuds? No, they will. I mean, they're going to go out of business after that, but they will, for sure. And like, to me, every time that I see one of these studios fall apart and fail, I think this is a huge W. Like, when BioWare has to announce that they have to lay off a bunch of people, I'm going to say rip bozo. Rest in piss, you won't be missed. Same with Concord. Rest in piss, you won't be missed. That's natural selection, and you got selected. Losers lose. And keep in mind that, like, we as consumers have the power to do that. Understand the fucking market like you know every company should? Yeah, exactly. It is. We said them. Yeah, and that's why I think people are shitting on that Intergalactic game so much. Like, I actually think that game, it's going to be really hard for that game to be successful because so many people have already decided that it's bad. It almost won't even matter what happens in the game. And, like, the thing is that it's not fair that that happens. But does anybody give a fuck?
Be that rough. The reality is that it is. And he's absolutely right.
People say that's just Twitter. That's not just Twitter. See, like, everybody tries to go and they act like, oh, well, this is only like a small subset of people. Do you really think the Walmart Americans want to see a bunch of hogs? Fuck no, they don't want to see that. They are probably more anti this stuff than people on the internet. They probably feel this way even more. They see him every day. Yeah, exactly.
That's just the reality of the world. Ultimately, when a game fails to deliver on its foundational elements, strong, engaging characters and designs that invite players to connect, everything else becomes irrelevant. Players need to feel drawn into these games' world, and they need to be invited in before they can even get to the gameplay. While many may wish that the world was different and they want to project their worldview onto their games and their characters, you are selling a commercial product that people are expected to buy for you to stay in business.
This is the same thing streamers do. Streamers do this. They said, I'm doing this for me. It's like, you're doing it for you. Turn off the stream. You dance like a monkey. Stop pretending like this is a fucking statement. Stop it. Fucking overzealous, entitled, self-righteous idiot. Stop it. It's embarrassing.
Like the way that it looks, they're not going to play it.
See enough
Now, I
hogs
want to
at
be
Walmart?
crystal clear on this because this is...
We had a problem with this. Everybody talking about, I'll go tweet this out. Everybody talking about hoflation. Oh, too many hoes. I think it's the opposite. Like back in the day, like you could go to like GameStop or Target or like Academy and you would see hot girls there. Now, you never see hot girls there. Why is that? It's because they're at home doing OnlyFans. It's a deflation. They're out of the market. They're not working in retail anymore. They're doing OnlyFans. When was the last time you saw a hot chick cashier? Not too much, right? Now we in hogflation. That's where we're at now. It's bad. Self-checkout? Shut up, bitch.
Social media, people can and will frequently take you out of context and completely miss the plot when it comes to these conversations. So I'm going to be literal as possible. Looks alone will not and cannot bring you continued success.
No.
They can garner attention, but clarity eventually will take over and interest
This is what happened with First Descendant. It's a really good example of that. First Descendant, the only thing that they have are... And it's like, they don't even like... It's not even... A lot of the models they have aren't even really that good. It's like, yeah, she's hot. And she's wearing a bikini. Okay, cool. Yeah, post-goon clarity, exactly.
Be lost if there's nothing else there beyond the looks. A perfect example of this is The First Descendant.
He's
This game
so right.
has some of the hottest character designs that you can find in gaming without having to private your Steam library. Many people celebrated the release of The First Descendant. It soared up to 260,000 players on Steam within the first week of its launch. It was well received on console, and it quickly became the flag to fly in the face of developers that were creating games for the mythical modern audience and the journalists that defended them. I played The First Descendant. I reviewed it on this channel, and while I felt it controlled well, it was one of the most shallow games that I've ever played. It was repetitive, it lacked diversity in gameplay, in content, and its progression and monetization was completely taken from Warframe, but they had gotten rid of all of the fairness and generosity. Overall, the game just had no soul. And to nobody's surprise, the game lost 94% of its player base since launch. And the truth of the matter is...
I played it 150 hours, something like that. The game just... It's sad because I think that it's such a really well-playing... Like, the game plays very well. But it's just... pretty good. No, I have like a fully maxed out like Ajax. I have a fully maxed out Bunny and like halfway with Valby. And then I stopped playing. Oh, I did half of the way with what's that guy that shoots the yellow balls? Lepic. Yeah. That was it. Then I stopped.
You need to have more than that. And I think that Marvel Rivals is likely going to be that proof of concept. It is shown that success in live service, or any game for that matter, is about making a game that resonates. It's about the combination of all factors that make a game successful. Marvel Rivals performs well, it's smooth to play, it has accessible gameplay that feels familiar yet fresh, it has a lot of depth, it has a high ceiling for skill expression, it has some stunning artwork and character designs, and most importantly, it's a game that understands what players want, respects it, and delivers it. And it's just a fun game. At the end of the day, that's exactly what we need these games to be. It's the most important thing is for these games to be fun and enjoyable, and that's exactly what Marvel Rivals is. It's very light. It doesn't feel high commitment or anything like that. I love the character designs. I love the animations of the game.
It's a simple game.
Playing the game. It's just fun to play. And That's what you want from a game like this.
Yep.
You know, I've seen a lot of the reviews for this game talk about how it's just a messier version of Overwatch. And while I think that's true in some cases because there's so many characters and they have so many abilities and there's synergy.
I think that they have a real uphill battle. Like, I don't know if the game has staying power, like more than like 6 months or a year, same as Overwatch did. But it's a fun game to play right now.
And the team ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's kind of the charm of the game. That's why the game's so much fun, is because of the chaos. It's one of those things where it's actually more difficult to describe and it's better off experience. So I highly recommend, if you guys like these kind of games, go give it a shot. I think it's really cool. Plus, on top of that, I just like to see games like this succeed in the first place because I think they do show off a really good example of what players are looking for in games today.
It's obvious.
And it gives a better through line for other developers to emulate that success and, follow the leader in this case. And, you know, to be honest with you, this game came out of left field for me. I was not expecting this game. And I keep doing this to myself. I had written this game off entirely because I saw it was made by NetEase. And I am one of those people that used to have a...
Nah, bro. Like, it's the opposite now. Is the Chinese used to be the bad games, now they're the good games. I don't know why we threw it away. We had it. Now they make the good game. It's fucking embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Like, they just rip off something that we do and they do it better. It's fucking embarrassing. How do you let this happen? Keep losing to China. Yes. What is this? Yeah, even when they copy, they copy the game. They copy this shit and they say, oh, here it is. And people are like, oh, this is better.
Bias towards a lot of Chinese game developers because I was always seeing the same kind of games coming out from them. Usually just blatant cash grabs, gotcha games, things like that. And it's just not for me. I like things that value my time and money. And oftentimes the games that were coming out of there were games that didn't do that. And I had written off Once Human. I was proven wrong. I written off Black Myth Wukong. I was proven wrong.
Yeah, Once Human was a Chinese game too. That's a good point. Yeah, and that was a great game. People love that game. And Black Myth Wukong, there's a few of those gotcha games. Here's the thing. Like, I think Wuthering Waves is China. The game is actually good. Like, it's a fucking piece of shit. But, like, because of the gameplay, right? Or not the gameplay, the monetization. But it's a really good game. It is a very, very good game. Wuthering Waves and Hoyoverse is all China. Yeah, even Girls Frontline too. Yeah, that shit was fun. I saw Lucari playing that.
Wrote off 12 Arrivals, and here I am again, proven wrong. So I am just gonna, not sell myself up river when it comes to some of these games anymore. But it's crazy to see what is going on with China.
It's not even just China. Like, any time that I see a game is made by a Western studio, I'm like, all right, what's it gonna be? What is it? There's gonna be something stupid here. What's it? Yeah, okay, that's it. Here we go again. But like, if the intro screen for a game is a bunch of fucking those letters, Chinese or Japanese, Korean letters, I can't fucking read them. I'm like, all right, all right, we can actually be playing a video game here. Let's see what this is going to be. Those runes,
I'm wondering if it's just because of the fact that they're not dialed into the social politics and social progressive nature of just, general discourse in the West and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That they just cut through all of the BS and see what consumers want to buy as a product and just make that product, and they ignore everything else. And that's probably why they're finding so much success right now, is because they're basically just ignoring all of the...
It's also probably their hiring process. I think that the hiring processes that incentivize things that are not just merit, they will be worse. Because you think about, why do they exist? The reason why those hiring processes exist is because a company, and operating in its best interest, will hire based off of only merit. So they have to have things to counteract that. Well, if you need to counteract that, that means that doing it would be the natural best course of action. They hire talent? Yeah, because of government funding too. Yeah, I mean, government funding probably helps, but I mean, same with Korea, right? I don't know if Korea is getting government funding. Yeah. They're hiring from India too. That's today's theme up. I mean, look, I mean, I would rather have Vivek making a game than some fucking like weirdo. Some person's got 6 personality disorders in their fucking profile account. 5 different flags. Yeah, let's go down to India, find that guy right there, the guy not wearing a shirt that's picking his nose. Yeah, why don't you? Yeah, you're gonna do a better job. Don't worry about it, man. Yeah, you're perfect. Let's go.
Noise of the world and just making a video game as a video game and not really thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way. It's giving them and bringing them a lot of success. And I think that the crazy thing is, like, the East in general has cleaned up 2024. 2025 is probably going to be just the exact same thing, because if you looked at the Game Awards, a lot of the biggest releases were games that were coming from the East.
Yeah.
Capcom's cooking. You got a couple of the other Chinese developers that are cooking right now. You got some
Monster Hunter.
some South Korean developers are starting to cook a little bit. They just need to get off of that bad monetization stuff.
That gotcha.
That's the problem with like some of the Eastern games, man, is that like they have some of the most overt monetization, and it just makes you want to have nothing.
It's
to do
a waste
with
of time. Waste of time gameplay. That's the reason why it's so annoying.
Game. They have such great premises for
Chrono games come from Korea too. Yeah,
ruin
that
it.
Kazan
And I'll be
game.
honest with you, like I look at a game like Lost Ark. I think this is probably the best example of it.
Lost Ark's
Ark
insane. Such
as
a good game.
a concept is such an incredible game, but the problem is that you put all the like gotcha mechanics with leveling up weapons that completely undermine the reason why you would play a game like that in the first place. If you're playing an MMO, it's to get cool weapons and equipment and make your character stronger, but when you make people pay for that, well then why would I even play the game? The achievement of getting that stuff rather than buying it is the reason why people like playing those games in the first place. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of 2020,
I don't get it either. That's why I quit the game. Yeah, I quit playing Lost Ark. It wasn't fun. I don't want to play games where like I waste my time. Like that's the way I look at it, is like when I find that a game is wasting my time, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. That's it. Lost Ark has the best gameplay. Lost Ark's insanely good.
5, this is likely my last video of the year. I just want to say thank you guys for everything. This year has been wild. I was laid off this time last year, and in a year's time, here I am now in a new career that you guys have so graciously given to me because you guys support this channel, you guys support the videos, you share the videos, you subscribe, you like the videos and comment and hang out in the Discord and show up to streams and stuff like that. And it's changed my life in an indescribable way. I'm not a rich man or anything like that. I'm just living a solid life, and I'm doing something that I love to do, and I appreciate you guys for empowering me to be able to do just that.
It is just that fucking simple.
I just want to say thank you. That's it. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, and Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
There it is.
Peace.
Family.
Man.
Family. Family. Family.
Man. Go to joindeleteme.com/drops and use the code.
I'll link y'all the video.
Off.
I really
agree
agree
with
pretty much everything he
your
said on
personal
this.
information and protect your privacy online. Thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get to it.
Crazy that we have that meta in
Hello,
America.
you absolute legend.
I haven't watched this guy yet. I'll probably look at that at some other point. No, I really agree. I mean, I think that it's been a huge issue. It's really funny. It's saying Merry Christmas is an act of defiance. I'm going to be honest. I think the entire idea of like the Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays thing, I think this is a fighting with ghosts situation. You're jousting with windmills. Most people don't care about that, and the amount of people that are upset about Merry Christmas, there's like 7 of them. It's not even really a thing. Yeah, it's so fucking dumb. Yeah. Zizrain cried yesterday at stream because he could pay off his mortgage with a subathon. Yeah, bro. Zizrain probably pay off the mortgage of his whole fucking country. He got 70,000 subs. You're goddamn fucking right he can pay off his mortgage. Yeah, I bet. Duh. Of course. 70 fucking thousand subs. He's been killing it. It's awesome to see that. Amazing to see that. And so is Legendary Drops. He got 229,000 subscribers. That is insane. Maybe I'll link you all the videos. Subscribe. Maybe it'd be 230. And that's it. Yeah, he's doing great. Yeah, exactly. Like, I try to support people as much as I can. And, like, you know, I see people doing good shit and people putting in work. And I love to see it, man. I do. And he just became the highest Scandinavian streamer ever. Congratulations to him, man. That's fucking amazing. It couldn't have happened to a better person. I've known Zizerain now for over 5 years. I mean, yeah, I think that's great. That's awesome. So good to see. Isn't great? Yeah, exactly. And I started this year at 30K subs this year. That's a lot. Holy shit. Oh, there he is. He's in chat. Yeah, 30K subs. Now it's 230K. That's a pop off. Yeah. Oh my God. That's a lot. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Yeah, this video was great. Like, I feel like, again, it's just a lot of the components. Games media, there's a reason why they don't do YouTube. It's not because they don't want to. It's because they can't. If any of these people could go and do YouTube to any degree of success that an average person would have, right? Or like one of these people that like streams on YouTube, they would do it. The fact is that, like, you make way more money on YouTube. You have total control on YouTube. You can do whatever you want to do on YouTube. And then on Twitch, or sorry, on these websites, you get told what to do, everything like that. It's annoying, right? Only Skill Up right now? Nah, there's a handful of guys. Like, you got Legendary Drops, you got Mortismal Gaming, you got Skill Up, you've got, like, there's a lot of, like, more nuanced, right? Like, more nuanced groups of people. Like, Rurikon does, like, a lot of content about, like, Monster Hunter-centric games. And, you know, Bellior does content. Angry Joe, like Force Gaming for like MMOs and ARPGs. Like, he's the man. And so, like, Shill Up as a corporate clown, for sure, man. That sounds like the beginning of a great Reddit post. I can't wait to delete it. And so anyway, so that's the way I see it. I try to promote other people and try to, you know, like, raise other people up. I see somebody doing work and somebody's performing and doing well. Like, I try to go and talk about that and promote that as much as I can, because I think it's a good thing for everybody. And it keeps everybody kind of in the ecosystem. It keeps everybody talking about it and excited about it.